My parents took me on a dream vacation to Greece, then vanished. No goodbye. No suitcase. Just a note stuffed in my jacket. You're 17 now. Old enough to survive. I woke up on a stone bench in Santorini with nothing. My passport?
Gone.
My phone?
Dead.
My name? Erased from every system they'd ever tied me to. That morning, I'd still thought I had a family. Mom clinking mugs over hotel coffee, Dad grunting about new beginnings, a silver necklace with "To my strong daughter" glinting on my chest. By sundown, I realized they'd deleted me, scrubbed me out like a typo they couldn't afford. They'd pitched it as a reset trip a week earlier, 3 plane tickets fanned across our chipped kitchen table back home. No siblings, no interruptions. I was 17 and falling apart, flunking math, skipping class, scrapping with anyone who looked at me wrong. Mom called it teenage mood swings, her voice sharp, like I was a bug in her code. Dad just stared through me, silent as a wall. But when Mom slid that necklace over, her smile flickering soft, and Dad muttered, "We're proud of you, kid," I let myself believe it. I wore it to bed, the charm cold against my skin, dreaming of a family that might finally see me. Greece started stiff, but bright. Gelato dripped by the waves, salt air tangling my hair. We snapped awkward photos at crumbling ruins, Mom rattling off facts, Dad nodding like he cared. On the ferry to Santorini, she grabbed my hand. 5 seconds I clung to like a lifeline. "This is for us," she said, and I thought, maybe I still matter. The morning we were set to fly home, they played it perfect. Hotel buffet, Mom in coral lipstick, Dad fake reading a paper. To new beginnings, they toasted, mugs clinking mine. Back in 15, Mom said, breezy, just grabbing souvenirs. I texted my friend, half hoping this wasn't a lie. An hour passed.
2, 4.
The clerk at the desk, tired accent, pitying eyes, said they'd checked out at dawn. Room 302 was empty. My stuff, my ID gone. Like I'd never existed. I called. Voicemail. Texted.
Silence.
A hollow buzz in my gut screamed it wasn't a mistake. That night, behind a bakery under a flickering sign, I found the note in my pocket. You're 17 now. Old enough to survive.
No sorry.
No explanation. Just a cut, clean and final. The necklace seared my skin. That lunch-packing mom, that blanket-draping shadow from when I was 9, the parents who'd toasted me, they'd staged every second. I wasn't their kid. I was a line they'd crossed out, a cost they'd dumped. Fear hit first. I'd vanish, a ghost no one chase. Then fury, white-hot and quiet, because love doesn't bait you with silver and run. Parents don't delete you. They didn't forget me. They planned it. I didn't break that night. I ripped the necklace off, crushed the note, and swore they'd regret it. Not by begging them back, but by outlasting their erasure. Sleep didn't come. I sat on that bench, knees to my chest, dialing their voicemails until my phone's last spark died. Dawn painted the sky gray, and panic sank into my chest like wet cement. I tried my best friend back home, straight to voicemail, her cheery, leave a message, mocking me. I DM'd 3 others, fingers shaky on a borrowed phone from a tourist. No one answered. I wasn't just abandoned by them. I was invisible to everyone. I trudged 15 minutes to the U.S. Embassy, legs wobbling, clutching that note like it was the only proof I wasn't a mirage. The embassy was clinical, white walls, fluorescent hum. A woman in a navy blazer, hair in a tight bun, listened as I stammered it out. The trip, the breakfast, the vanishing act. She typed my parents' names, paused, and her face shifted. Just a flicker, but enough to signal ruin. They removed you, she said, voice clipped. From their emergency contacts. Health insurance. Everything. No record, I was their kid. No plan to drag me back. I'm so sorry, she added, eyes darting away. Sorry was a dead word when your identity's been scrubbed like a stain. I stumbled back to the hotel, chasing a shred of hope, a note at the desk, a clerical error, anything. Nothing. Just the clerk's pitying shrug and that note burning a hole in my pocket. Behind the bakery, I collapsed near a trash bin, its faint warmth mocking me. Sobs ripped out until my throat was sandpaper. A cafe down the street played music, laughter, maybe a wedding. I pulled out my dead phone, picturing our last photo. Me between them, fake smiles under Greek sun. The cracks glared now. Dad's clenched fist, Mom's tight lips. I'd been too dumb to notice. Fragments clawed up, Dad gripping a final notice envelope, Mom hissing in the kitchen, "We can't take her." One night, behind my door, their voices low. "She's not a child anymore. She'll ruin everything." This wasn't a slip. It was a blueprint. They'd left me on purpose. I stood, wiped my face on my sleeve, and decided I'd survive. Not for them, but to shove it in their faces. By night 3, hope was a luxury I couldn't afford. I curled behind that bakery, under a busted sign spitting sparks, jacket zipped tight. The bin's dying heat kept my teeth still. I was starving, beyond hungry. Bones ached, brain fizzed. €3 jingled in my pocket, not enough for crumbs. A tray of loaves cooled by the back door, steam curling up. I didn't think, just lunged, fingers shaking. A hand clamped my wrist. Panic roared. Wild, hot. I braced for yells, cops worse. "If you're hungry," a voice sliced in, "you work." She was old, 68, maybe, silver hair in a flour-dusted bun, eyes like gray stone. Cinnamon streaked her apron. She stared, then let go, and walked inside. I followed. Her name was Lucia. She didn't ask who I was or why I was a mess in her alley. Just pointed to a stack of greasy pans. "Scrub." I scrubbed.
Hours.
Steel wool bit my hands, soap stung my wrists, but I didn't stop. Stopping was nothing. That night, she tossed me a scratchy blanket, nodded at a cot in the storage room. No words. It wasn't warm, but it was safe. Safe was gold. Lucia ran the bakery alone, lived upstairs in a flat I never saw. She moved like she'd done it forever, kneading dough, flipping trays, tweaking the oven with a flick. Locals nodded hello, but her past was locked tight. One morning, over cold coffee, she muttered she'd been left too, by war, not family. "No one came back for me either," she said, then shut down. Another day, dusting flour off her hands, she fixed me with those stone eyes. "Life owes you nothing," she said. "So take nothing personally, and take everything seriously." It stuck, a quiet compass for the chaos. She saw the fracture in me, didn't call me brave or broken, just handed me a mop and said, "Don't spill on the flour." And that's when I felt human again. I earned my first meal, a heel of bread, warm and rough. It tasted like a middle finger to them. Weeks bled together. I hauled flour sacks until my shoulders screamed, scraped dough off trays until my nails split. Lucia didn't ease up. Drop something? She'd hand me another. No coddling. The deal. Work, stay. She didn't want my tears. She gave me space to rewrite them. I slept on that cot, a bulb flickering overhead, blankets stinking of yeast. Dawn brought clinking bottles, thudding crates, Greek I started to catch, calamera, eforisto. One day, behind a dumpster, I found a laptop, screen cracked, battery dead. Trash to most, treasure to me. I cleaned it, begged a charger from a repair shop, traded a day's dishwater hands for parts. A week later, it hummed alive, screen glitching but mine. I nearly wept. By the back door, Wi-Fi faint, I signed up for a free GED course. Algebra under oven hum. Ironic after flunking it stateside. I whispered every score like a prayer. I passed my first test. 81%. Not perfect, but proof I wasn't trash. In a crumpled journal on a cafe table, I spotted it. A Greek shipping company, bleeding cash but shifting gears. I scraped €200 saved for shoes, downloaded a free trading app, bought stock. 2 months later, a surprise contract tripled it, €600. Not luck, motion. Lucia caught me late, charts glowing, hands jittery. "Playing accountant," she quipped. I didn't answer. I was moving. I devoured YouTube lectures, bootlegged Buffett essays printed on bread receipts, scribbled notes in margins. Money grew, freelance gigs under an alias, tweaking Excel for vendors, guiding tourists through tech. By 20, I had clients. By 22, investors. I kept it low. Lucia saw her new phone at Christmas, an espresso machine I snuck in, bills paid quiet. She never asked how much. One day, mid-flower restock, she said, "You walk different now."
Stronger.
She was right. My first client paid €70 to streamline their inventory. I bought Lucia's steel mixing bowls, hers. By 20, I wasn't surviving. I was profiting. My new name was corporate, bland, legal, registered through a Greek partner, buried in paperwork. No flexing. Just encrypted emails, signed deals, results. Clients spread by whisper. Expats needing websites, locals wanting logistics, small fries chasing investments. I spoke in numbers, untangled chaos. By 21, I had a waiting list. By 22, angel investors wired seed cash. I didn't flash it, no designer bags, no hustle quotes. Every euro fed the machine, web tools, legal fees, mentorships for girls like me, scrappy and fierce. I built Second Signal, PDFs and voice notes teaching cast-offs how to earn online. No degree needed, just Wi-Fi and guts. Lucia didn't chase my numbers. She saw envelopes slipped to neighbors, a new oven hood when hers died. She still handed me the mop. She taught me respect isn't loud, it's steady, like dough rising. I sent cash to Florida shelters, anonymous. Thousands here, 10 there. Part charity, part taunt. One morning, Lucia slid a newspaper across the table. Recognize that address? Foreclosure notice. My parents' house. Their new life. A window cracked open. I wired $7,000 to a Miami shelter. A paper ran it, mystery donor saves teens. I grinned, picturing their squirm. I booked the flight the next day. No hesitation, just a one-way ticket under my business alias, clean and untouchable. Lucia nodded once, slow and sure, like she'd seen the storm brewing in me for years. The auction was Tuesday morning, outside a sun-bleached county office in Florida, the kind of place where dreams go to die under a gavel. 5 years ago, I'd curled up on cold concrete, barefoot and shaking, clutching a dead phone as the world forgot me. Now I stood tall, navy blazer crisp, leather boots clicking on the pavement, a folder of legal papers tucked under my arm like a blade. Lucia flanked me, Bitter's card in her steady grip, her presence a quiet anchor. A man in khakis and boat shoes sized us up, real estate vulture, hungry for a flip. He squinted, dismissed me as some out-of-place kid. He had no idea who I was.
Perfect.
The bidding climbed fast, $180, 000, $190,000, voices sharp and greedy. I whispered numbers to Lucia, calm as stone. She raised the card, unflinching. My pulse stayed even. This wasn't just about a house. This was surgical, a scalpel slicing through their fresh start. Sold to bidder 173. The gavel cracked wood. Final.
Mine.
A week later, they got the notice. Certified mail, cold and legal. 30 days to vacate. No loopholes. Their lawyer called Lucia's number, mistaking her for the buyer, voice tight with panic. The sellers request a meeting. In person. I said yes. The meeting was set in a small real estate office near town. Neutral ground, closed door, fluorescent lights buzzing like a trap. I arrived early, sat still in a chair that creaked under me, the deed and my past folded neatly in my lap. Back then, I'd huddled on a hotel floor, knees bruised, begging strangers to see me. Now my boots gleamed, my spine was steel, and the papers in my hands held their ruin. They walked in late, Mom first, oversized sunglasses perched like a shield, pearls glinting, her beige cardigan a flimsy armor of fragility. Dad trailed, clutching a leather folder like a kid with a blankie, his shoulders slumped under a polo shirt 2 sizes too big. They sat across from me, pasting on polite smiles, expecting to haggle with some faceless investor. I slid off my sunglasses, slow and deliberate, letting the room sharpen. Mom's face blanched, her eyes, wide and wet, locked on mine, the sunglasses slipping from her nose to clatter on the table. Recognition hit her like a slap, her breath hitching audibly. Dad froze mid-blink, his folder dropping an inch, fingers twitching. The air thickened, their masks cracking under my gaze. "You left me," I said, voice cold as the concrete I'd once slept on. "In Greece. No money. No ID. No goodbye." Mom's lips trembled, her hands fluttering to her throat. "We thought you'd hate us less if we just faded." I laughed, short, bitter, the sound bouncing off the walls. "You were my lifeboat. You threw me to the sharks." Dad wouldn't meet my eyes, his head dipping, staring at the table like it could swallow him whole. His silence roared louder than any excuse. "Say it wasn't your call," I snapped, leaning forward, my boots planting firm. He swallowed hard, mouth opening, then clamping shut, a fish gasping on dry land. I stood, slow and controlled, my shadow stretching across the table. "I survived. And now I own your house." Mom's hand shook, knocking her sunglasses to the floor. "You're bluffing," she whispered, voice breaking. I slid the deed across the table. Crisp, signed, undeniable. It landed with a soft thud, a guillotine dropping. Lucia stepped in from the hall, clipboard in hand. "All business. Keys in 30 days, she said, flat as gravel. "Move-out scheduled to follow." Mom stared at the deed like it was a live wire, her fingers hovering, afraid to touch it. "You can't do this," she choked out. "We're your parents." "No," I said, voice ablade. "You were. You made your choice." I reached into my pocket, pulled out an old house key, scratched and bent from years of carrying it like a wound, and dropped it on the table. It clinked against the wood, a small, hollow sound. "The only thing you ever gave me," I said. "Keep it." I turned, boots clicking, and paused at the door. I opened it wide, sunlight spilling in, the house visible across the lot, yellow and sagging. "There's no more." I stepped through, then out, letting it swing shut behind me with a final thud. I didn't need anything from that place. Not their walls, not their guilt, not their ghosts. I'd taken what mattered, the power to walk away. They didn't follow. They left a voicemail that night, voices cracked and begging. I deleted it without a second's pause. The keys came early, slipped through Lucia's mail slot. No note. Cowards. I held it, flour on my hands, feeling a spark. We flew to Florida. Me, Lucia, plans thick. The house sagged, yellow siding peeling lawn wild. I saw a blueprint. We gutted it, tore out fake charm, laid oak floors, painted lavender and mint. The master became a dorm, bunks, lockboxes, safety. Lucia named it the second door, for when the first one never opened. Girls trickled in 6, then 9. Maria, 19, came with ripped sneakers, eyes down. She'd slept in a truck to dodge her stepdad. She baked her first loaf, lumpy, hers, and smiled. We offered showers, beds, bread. No questions. They exhaled. The dining room, once Mom's stage, held laptops. I taught budgets, they taught trust. Laughter rang real. One night, on the porch with Lucia, tea steaming, she asked, "Still feel homeless?" I saw the shoes by the door, heard Maria humming. "This is where we start over," I said. Maria slipped me a thank you note, shaky proud. Months in, the house buzzed with life. 9 girls grew to 12, then 15. Lucia ran baking classes in the garage, flour dusting her apron like snow, her hands steady as she shaped dough with the girls. I taught money at the dining table, spreadsheets glowing under chipped mugs, showing them how to build from zero. Then it hit. We were renovating the basement, Dad's old man cave, a damp hole of fake wood paneling and stale beer smells. Tasha, 20, wiry and quiet, pried up a loose floorboard chasing a dropped screwdriver. She froze, then hauled something up a metal box, rusted shut, edges sharp with age. "What's this?" she asked, voice low, eyes flicking to me. I grabbed a hammer from the toolbox, knelt on the gritty floor, and cracked it open. The clang echoed, dust puffing into the air. Inside, papers, yellowed and crisp, bank statements, deeds, a handwritten list of names, dates, amounts. My parents' signatures sprawled across every page, Mom's cursive tight, Dad's blocky scrawl jagged. At the bottom of one sheet, her note. Payment complete, this is our reset. She'd signed it Eleanor, not Mom, like she'd never been one. A $50,000 deal stared back, cold and final. My stomach lurched, ball rising. They didn't just leave me, they sold me. The papers linked to an adoption broker, offshore accounts, fake IDs, a trail of numbers proving they'd traded my identity for cash, erase me to dodge debts, and start fresh. The reset trip wasn't abandonment. It was a delivery, a calculated drop-off masked as a vacation. Lucia leaned over my shoulder, reading in silence, her breath steady until she muttered, "Bastards," voice rough with disgust. I sat back on the basement steps, papers trembling in my hands. Fury roared up, hot and familiar. But something else broke loose too, something sharper, a crack in who I was. I stumbled upstairs, Tasha calling after me, and dug through my bag for the one thing I'd kept from Greece, a battered passport I'd replaced years ago, its photo a ghost of the girl I'd been. I flipped it open, stared at the face, 17, wide-eyed, trusting, the name printed crisp. Mine theirs. Who was she? I whispered, voice cracking. Who am I now? My fingers brushed the page, smudging the ink, and I grabbed a pen from the table, hands shaking. I tried to write my name, the one they'd given me, the one they'd sold, but the letters blurred, my hand jerking, ink pooling into a shapeless mess. I wasn't their daughter. I wasn't even a person to them, just a line item, a $50,000 invoice they'd cashed out. The room spun, my chest tight, every memory of them, every lunch, every glance, rotting into a lie. I'd been a thing to trade, not a life to keep. Tasha's footsteps creaked behind me. "You okay?" she asked, soft, unsure. I swallowed, forced the air back in. "No," I said, voice raw. "But I will be." Lucia took the papers from my lap, her grip firm. "They don't own you anymore," she said, eyes hard. "Use it." Fury steadied me, clarity too. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a transaction, and I'd make them pay for it. I called a lawyer the next morning, an old client, discreet, with a knack for digging into shadows. She traced the broker, confirmed the $50,000 was real, funneled through a shell company, the trail gone cold, my identity swapped for their new life. She faxed me the proof, her voice clipped over the line. "You've got them." I didn't cry. I planned. The lawyer's fax landed on my desk, irrefutable evidence. I had proof, and with it, power. They posted online, called me vindictive, said I stole their home. I didn't bite. The sign screamed. The second door, when the first one never opened. We hosted an open house, 15 girls. Lucia taught baking, I taught finance. Each got a binder, tools, not rules. My note, your force. One night, I paused by my old room. Tasha and another whispered about a bakery under quilts. Lucia handed me the note. "You're 17 now." And I burned it. I showed her the papers. "Use it," she said. I did. The lawyer filed identity fraud, restitution. A month later, a $50,000 check arrived and signed. Their silence bought back. I split it, half to the second door, half to shelters. Tasha passed her G, hugged me. The first time she'd touched anyone. An email pinged one quiet evening. No subject line. "Why did you do it?"
Mom.
I didn't reply. She'd see. I didn't do it for revenge. I remembered, concrete biting my skin, no name, no hand reaching back. Lucia saw me when no one else did. Gave me a mop, a cot, a shot. That's why this house stood now, its walls alive with second chances. I stepped into my old room one last time, the space unrecognizable. Bunks instead of a bed, laughter instead of silence. In my hand, I held that old math test, 42%, red ink glaring. I smiled, tucked it into a box of keepsakes, not for them, but for me, a relic of the girl who'd clawed her way out. On the porch, the air hummed with dusk, shoes piled sloppy by the door, voices spilling from inside. Girls planning, dreaming, breathing free. 15 of them now, each a spark I'd fanned into flame. I called them out, a rare gathering, their faces curious under the fading light. Maria stepped forward, her sneakers still scuffed but her eyes steady. I pressed a key into her palm, not the old, bent one I'd thrown at my parents, but a new one, polished, cut for this house. "This is yours," I said, voice firm. "Yours to hold, yours to pass on." She nodded, solemn, and walked to the front door. Her hand reached up, fingertips brushing the sign Lucia had nailed there. The second door, when the first one never opened. The wood was warm from the day's sun, the words etched deep. She turned back, key glinting, a quiet vow in her grip. I faced the group, their shadows stretching long across the yard. "They left me in a foreign country with nothing," I said, the words steady, cutting through the hum of crickets. "I built this house with everything they couldn't give me, roots, a name, a fight. It's yours now. Make it more." They didn't cheer, just watched, eyes bright, a silent pact forming. Maria slipped the key into her pocket, and the others drifted back inside, voices rising again, carrying plans into the night. On the porch alone, I leaned against the rail, the sign's shadow falling over me. I didn't need them back, not their apologies, not their ghosts. I didn't just survive. I became the storm, and I planted seeds in every girl who walked through the second door. Let them witness, not just me, but the empire I built from nothing. If stories of grit, twists, and unbreakable beginnings hit you hard, subscribe below. Join us for more. I framed Tasha's first paycheck, $120 from a cafe gig. She called it freedom, and I called it hers.